Hello everyone and welcome. This is Eclectic Helpy, where we dive into the treasure trove of fantastical media, and today we are going to be rounding out our first time watch of all of the animated Lord of the Rings adaptations with the 1980 Return of the King. I feel like this one might not be horrible because it was directed by Rankin and Bass, also who did The Hobbit 1977, so it should theoretically be better than The Lord of the Rings 1978, which was just an absolute travesty, catastrophic, chaotic mess, which was not at all a pleasure to view in the slightest, and my soul started to deteriorate. So I have a little bit of hope for this one, I guess, because it is done by the same directors who did The Hobbit, and The Hobbit was decent. We'll see how it goes, and hopefully, you know, we had the decent, the tragic, maybe this will be the mediocre. We'll find out. But yeah, without further ado, let's do our first time watch for the Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King animated 1980 film. What's also going to be really interesting is that The Return of the King is not at all connected to the 1978 Lord of the Rings, where they did a compilation of, like, the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers, but then they, like, later on started packaging them together, because it's all Warner Brothers Media owns all of this, started, like, putting it together, even though the two have nothing to do with each other. So it'll be really interesting to see how I'm worried about Shelob. I'm worried about Gollum. And thus far, it's been really interesting. So obviously The Hobbit doesn't actually have anything to do with Sauron, like, as a whole. So him not being present in that makes all of the sense. But in the 1978 Lord of the Rings, Sauron wasn't really present at all to be, like, a looming figure of, like, oh, this is what these are the stakes, this is what we're battling, this is why we should care, because this grand evil is gonna be, like, trying to take over the world, where I think Peter Jackson's live action adaptations do a fantastic job about creating that imminent threat and kind of making Sauron feel like a present force within the world and driving the characters and their actions forward. So it'll be interesting to see, like, how integrated Sauron is in this adaptation. It'll be really interesting to, like, see how present, and also if they do, like, deeper exposition. Also, I already don't like Gandalf's design. I think this is, oh man, again, the only good Gandalf design was in the bad Lord of the Rings adaptation. I don't like his hood in this. I wish he had a hat. Also, these voice actors are some of the same ones from the Hobbit adaptation, so that's really interesting. If that was supposed to be Aragorn, I know, so soon, so fast, only 38 seconds in, but if that little shot was supposed to be Aragorn, an improvement from the 1978, but potentially questionable. Let's see. I guess there's Pegasuses. So the orcs look like the goblins from The Hobbit, and I liked the goblin animation. So this animation's, I guess, better, but this is really interesting that the goblins are the same as the orcs now. Do you like his little pipe in his hat? That's cute. What? The long-expected party is now happening in Rivendell, and Frodo and Sam were traveling to go to Rivendell for this party because Bilbo lives in Rivendell, apparently. Okay, so I guess we're gonna have to, okay, so I'll, okay, did they try to make this a standalone movie? Did they try to, like, take the Return of the King and instead... But then, okay, so we're just gonna have to play really loose with this lore and canon and really, like, maybe they're trying to speedrun it? I don't know. It's already weird. I don't know what to expect now from the pacing. Probably horrific pacing. We'll find out. It's an hour and 30 minutes long. I already don't know really what to do with that. Because... they're starting at the long-expected party in Rivendell, but this is the Return of the King. So, are they... Okay. Oh! Never mind. They jumped. Wait, why is Bilbo 127? Or 29? Why is Bilbo 129? Okay, I need to just watch the damn movie. Obviously, I need to just watch the movie. But... this is such a weird setup because... okay, so either way, this is gonna be wrong. Because his age is wrong, regardless. They start The Lord of the Rings with Bilbo turning 111. Frodo gets the ring. Bilbo hops, skips, and jumps over to Rivendell to hang out there. Then, the Fellowship quest goes on a one-year journey to go and destroy the ring. And then, before Frodo leaves for the Grey Havens... that's 4 additional years when they're, like, doing the scouring of the Shire and, whatever, like, everything, like, coming home, he chills, and then off he goes, to the Grey Havens and, like, says, bye, friends, I'll see you later. So I don't actually know when this is supposed to take place. I don't know how they got to 129. Are they doing a thing where, like, Frodo and Sam go and visit Bilbo sometime after? But no, because it would still be wrong. So all of this is wrong. Are they trying to, like, do a flashback of, like, oh, here was Frodo and Sam's adventure, they're visiting Bilbo in Rivendell, and, like, they're gonna reminisce about their Fellowship adventure, and, like, that's how we're, like, telling the story, because we couldn't, like, do all 3 films in one film, which you really can't. So I'm glad they didn't try. But, like, this is such a weird setup. And I don't know I don't know what's going on, but this is just incorrect. I just don't know, like, where we are in relation to the story. And that's kind of stressful. So, okay. Such an interesting animation. Why do they all look so weird? Like, Gandalf is the least offensive because he is just, like, a wizard dude, that's fine. But I wish he had a hat, like, his proper wizard hat. It's so iconic. Like, his Alan Lee drawing is so iconic with his little wizard hat, and it's just, like, a whole thing, rather than, like, a little hood. I don't know. Anyways, that is, like, I'm being super particular, and I recognize that. But I'm allowed to have an opinion and a preference, and that's the whole point of this whole adventure that we've gone on, is my reactions and experiences with watching this for the first time and having comparisons and contrasting with all of the different versions of this media that I've loved since I was 6 years old. So that's what I have to say about that. I love his red book. And this is a pretty red book. I think that's really sweet. So I'm happy that they have that. Yes, that was a terrible Gollum. He said, oh, that terrible Gollum. Yes, this is not my Gollum. See, you know what the thing is that, like, so that is a cute little Bilbo Baggins. He looks cute and kind of like a whimsical little creature. Why don't the other hobbits kind of give whimsical little creature guys? But, like, why are we doing a recap of The Hobbit in The Return of the King when this is about The Return of the King? I am confused. They've set up The Return of the King like flashback storytelling. Okay, we'll run with it. I feel like there's such a disadvantage to this film because they're having to, like, retell. I don't really understand why they're doing this setup that they have going on right now, because they're connecting this to The Hobbit and being like, oh yeah, Frodo, I gave you my ring, where did you put it? And Frodo's like, oh, like, I destroyed it. And then Bilbo's like, oh yeah, that's right, that was your whole mission, but like, why did you destroy it? Like, they're trying to do exposition for the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers, and also doing like tie-ins to The Hobbit, which makes sense because it's the same directors and that's their work that they're like connecting. But it's just feeling really like messy exposition when this is the Return of the King, and this is like the pinnacle, the penultimate component of the Lord of the Rings stories, and we're starting with like, it's not necessarily like lazy exposition, but it's very dull exposition to get to the point where we can do the Return of the King. And I think that it's just unfortunate for this collection. I feel like what should have happened is that the Lord of the Rings 1978 existed. Whatever, throw her away. She's just not good. But then Rankin and Bass should have made, because they did The Hobbit, they should have just made the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers and then gone into the Return of the King, so that it would have felt like one cohesive story. This is patchwork, and it's really like this is not canon already. This is not how it works. So yeah, I don't know. Also, okay, so they're saying that just Sam and Frodo went on the, so they're just like, oh, there was no fellowship. Okay. Well, that's kind of cool. They did Frodo the Nine Finger, but like, I don't like the setup of doing the past tense storytelling. Like, it's all a flashback now. This is unfortunate. The Minstrel of Gondor, everyone. Okay. Alright, Minstrel of Gondor, tell me the tale of the Return of the King, I guess. It's so weird that they're trying to connect The Hobbit to The Lord of the Rings in this specific manner, because obviously The Hobbit does connect to The Lord of the Rings in the sense that, like, yes, Bilbo found the ring in Gollum's cave, took it, like, etc. Now it, like, had to be destroyed, whatever, The Lord of the Rings happens. But it's just so weird that they're, like, skipping, so they're like, how it all began. It's so weird. I guess, again, the point is that this movie is from the same people who did The Hobbit, so that's why they're trying to, like, put those two things together rather than having it be the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers as being, like, the story. It just goes from The Hobbit to the Return of the King. It's just a messy compilation. The other thing, too, that's kind of, like, I like it, but I also found it to be a little bit excessive, is the music that they use in the Rankin and Bass was fun, because it was, like, Tolkien wrote a collection of songs and has those songs in his stories, which is really cool to utilize those, but some of the music choices I thought were a little bit excessive. So we'll see if this one compares in that kind of capacity and how much they're gonna put in. Again, it'll be the last time I say it because I've already said it, but I really think that this is such a ill use of time to do a recap of The Hobbit when this is the Return of the King. Why are we recapping The Hobbit and spending a whole musical number recapping The Hobbit when we're supposed to be doing The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King? Like, the Return of the King is a big story, and this feels like a waste of time utilizing 5 minutes of setup. And it definitely goes on for more, but this is 5 minutes and 9 seconds of, like, setup from The Hobbit into the Return of the King, which, it just feels very messy to, like, shoehorn those two parts of the story, and we're skipping. And they said that it was just Frodo and Sam, even though Merry and Pippin were at the table, and obviously they go they're a part of the Fellowship. So it sounds like they are rewriting Tolkien's works, and I have very strong feelings against that. We'll see. This is just what it sounds like from where we're at right now, but it's gonna be really unfortunate if they've, like, chopped up Tolkien's work like that. And again, I think, like, this is just so unfortunate, and it produces this othering component, which I think it's not a good thing to have these, like, forest elves who are being animated as, like, more goblin-y creatures rather than the, like, civilized, sophisticated, like, Elrond is, like, a full, like, proper elf-looking guy. I don't like that they othered the elves like that. Because it just feels... Because they're not. Like, they're not. In Tolkien's work, elves are simply elves. Yes, there is, like... I know that Tolkien has created different types of elves. Like, so many categorizations of elves. But, like, Thranduil is supposed to be a Sindarian elf. He's supposed to look like a regal... I don't know. I feel like this is disrespectful. To what Tolkien wrote and how he described his elves, because he makes it so clear about what they're supposed to look like. And I understand that this is, like, a creative license, a creative depiction, but then don't separate Elrond being this, like, more ethereal looking, like, crown of stars, like, proper, like, elf looking guy, but have these, like, forest dwelling elves look like this. It just doesn't feel right. And I know that, like, some people say, oh, it's, like, to differentiate, like, the two different okay. However, Peter Jackson did that. He had the, like, Mirkwood elves be, like, blondes and lighter colors. Same thing with, like, the Lothlorien elves were, like, lighter colors, blue tones in their wardrobe. And then having the, like, Rivendell elves be, like, darker hair and more, like, fall colors, like plums and browns and that kind of thing. Like, you can show different types of elves or different, like, components of elven culture in terms of the different status level of elves, rather than having one group of elves look like gremlins and one look like a superior type of elf. Like, it just doesn't feel right. That's what I gotta say about that. It's kind of gross to me. We'll move along. They're singing about Frodo and the Nine-Fingered. But his whole story started with a hobbit in, like, a cave. Just tell the story of Frodo and the Ring. I don't understand this. It's frustrating because they, like, just, if you're doing the Return of the King, just do, like, a prologue, catch us up on what we need to know, and then get into it. Like, I don't know, because this is not the Return of the King. This is a mess. This is a trailer for people to go back and watch The Hobbit 1977 rather than actually a movie about the Return of the King. Like, that's how I feel right now. This is a trailer for the other film. They're like, hey, instead of actually giving you any information about, like, what's happening within the Return of the King and, like, the Lord of the Rings story, we're actually just gonna give you a trailer for you to go and watch our other movie, product placement, and then we might get into a very watered down version of what the Return of the King is. So please enjoy. I don't like it. I will say, though, again, the backgrounds and, like, well, I mean, this one smoky background of Mount Doom looks nice. I've seen a lot of Hobbit flashbacks, so I don't really know what this movie looks like yet. But in the Ramkin and Bass first, like, their Hobbit movie, I talked a lot about how I loved how they did inanimate objects and landscapes. Their people animation, not so good, in my opinion. But, like, the landscapes and inanimate objects have been really good, so that's the one thing that I do have, like, some expectations of enjoying within this, because it's the same. So they're just doing a Fellowship erasure, because they're saying that, like, Aragorn, who is, like, waiting to be king again, who can't become king until the ring is destroyed. He's like off with a band somewhere. Like, this is incorrect. I really don't like the Fellowship erasure. They're jumping straight to like after Shelob? What is this movie about? What is happening? Like, they're following Sam and Frodo, but they're not even following. They've erased the Fellowship. I'm crashing out. This storytelling is worse than the worst one, which was the 1978 Lord of the Rings that compiled the Fellowship and the Two Towers. Like, this is already so messy and just incorrect. And I already don't like it. They're just jumping straight into after Shelob. So what is this movie even gonna be about, bro? Like, there's like an hour and a half of movie. What are they gonna do with that hour and a half if they're already jumping? What are they... Because they're erasing the Fellowship, so it's not like they're following like, okay, maybe they can do like the Battle of Pelennor Fields and like follow Aragorn. Because that's what they're kind of... It seems like they're gonna do some of him, but nobody else exists because it's just, oh, Aragorn off with a band somewhere is doing whatever to like try and get his throne back. I don't know why he lost it. Obviously I know why he lost it, but like there's no set like explanation for what's going on here. I don't understand why this is being so messily compiled into this story. Like, there's so many better ways. I feel there's so many better ways. And this is a travesty. The problem also with this right here is that this is all like this is like all being done past tense, like within this, like the minstrel of Gondor is still like singing this and Gandalf is narrating this. We're not experiencing this. This isn't like the movie. So again, I say, like, what is this movie? Because they're skipping over so much stuff. So like, what actually is gonna happen in this movie? Why are you like expositing key scenes from the Return of the King, like taking away like Samwise? Like, what's the point? What story are they what are they trying to accomplish? What story are they trying to tell? Like, I just don't understand. Man, they jumped into the last movie and they're really not doing a good job in terms of abbreviating it. Samwise can simply walk into Mordor. He's knocking on the front door. That's silly. This is such an awkward spot to start this movie, and I don't understand. It's just such a messy setup. I just can't get behind it. But I do appreciate that they are emphasizing that Samwise is the top tier character. He is the best one. We love Samwise. Like, seriously, just do a prologue. Just make it a little prologue of, like, how the Fellowship got together. Do a little whole... You can have your little song and dance, like, whatever, and then get to the Return of the King. But now we're having two songs right back to back. So much overlaid exposition in terms of like Gandalf narrating it. And what even is this story about now? Because essentially what they've set up here is it's the Ring of Power went missing. It wasn't on Frodo when he got captured and taken to the Tower of Kilithungel. And where did the ring go? And why does Frodo only have 9 fingers? And that's what this movie is now about. And oh, there's like a random king, his name is Aragorn, and he can't get back his kingdom until the ring is destroyed. Like, Tolkien's work can't be dumbed down and contained like this and have it be good or make sense, because there's too much. So this is already really messy. I am not enjoying... Like, the songs are fine, but I'm not enjoying them for the context in which I've already just explained. And I'm already annoyed. I don't want to not like this, but I feel like this has just been bad so far in terms of the whole setup. I feel like they're gonna have to really work hard to get me back. I was on board because The Hobbit wasn't too bad. I was like, you know what? Maybe this is not gonna be too bad. But I feel like this is the most offensive in terms of how they're telling the story because it's incorrect. And yes, okay, like, I can understand also where the argument could be made that because by the time the Return of the King happens, the Fellowship is already, like, scattered to the wind, they already don't exist anymore, really, like, whatever. I can see that perspective, but it just takes away from the whole story, because Tolkien's work was not supposed to be 3 separate books. It was due to the extremely high prices of printing back in the 1940s. That is the only reason why his book, it's supposed to be 1 book. So, like, the only reason why it had to be broken up was because it's, like, the exorbitant amount of money that it would take to, back in that day, print, like, a 1,000-page book. Nobody was going to buy it because it was going to be too expensive, so he had to split it up into 3. Whatever. It's supposed to be 1 piece of work. So, I don't know. I feel like you can't isolate the Return of the King the way that they're doing it and connect it to The Hobbit in the way that they're doing it and have it be respectful in terms of adapting Tolkien's work. Still beautiful art style in terms of background, so that's good. Yeah, okay, I understand that they're just taking, like, this movie is based on The Hobbit and The Return of the King. I just feel there's too much in between those 2 stories to, like, butcher and compile. This is like a hack job. We'll see how it goes, but I already feel like this is the worst. Even though the 1978 Lord of the Rings, it broke my whole soul, but at least it told the damn story correctly for the most part. Like, yeah, they, like, brushed over things and the pacing was really bad and the animation wasn't good, to my opinion, and there was a whole bunch of things, and the men weren't wearing pants, and, like, it just... But also in The Hobbit, like, in this, you know, the 1977 Hobbit, the men weren't wearing pants, so... But, like, at the very bare minimum, The Hobbit told the story. Yes, they left stuff out, but it was The Hobbit, and yeah, they rushed it, and the pacing, of course, but, like, they're condensing the story for an hour and a half. Fine. They still followed the story. The 1978 pacing was awful, they still followed the story. And they stopped, not quite exactly where the Two Towers book stopped, but pretty damn close. This feels like story erasure, and it makes me sad. The orcs just dropped the ring and didn't even notice? Also, how are they, like, what is the explanation for how they got separated? Like, because there's no... They did a lot of setup, but they did nothing to actually set up. So how did they get, like, what happened? See, the problem is that there's no actual, this isn't the Return of the King. This is, like, this is not correct. And it doesn't make any sense. Why are you telling the end of a story without setting up the beginning? Like, if you're gonna, like, did they not have the rights to the Fellowship of the Ring and the Two Towers? Like, did they just not have access to those parts of the story? That would be crazy if that was true. But that would be, I think, the only acceptable excuse for this catastrophe. Because this is such a mess. We're all over the place. They don't know where they are. The frickin' sword sounds like a lightsaber. It's going... Why? I also understand that that's, like, an artistic choice. But you know what? I'm not gonna... You know what? You know what? I am not going to devil's advocate myself. I'm just gonna not like something that I don't like. I think that it's dumb that the sword is... Stop it. It is not a lightsaber. I'm just gonna let myself be upset about all of these things. Unless I really feel like I need to justify not liking something, then I'll be like, okay, I understand that it's probably a stylistic choice, and, you know, they're allowed to make creative choices even though they're stupid and wrong. But today we're gonna full rage unhinged Kelpie, and this is just where I'm at, so this is just what the video is gonna be. I just don't like it. So after all that, I am actually gonna have to see Shelob. I know that I already complained that, like, oh, they didn't have Shelob, but the point is is that, like, they're not, like, why did Sam and Frodo get separated from each other if it wasn't the, like, Gollum fight that, like, you know, and then, like, Sam leaves and whatever, and, like, getting lost in Shelob's cave. Like, I don't understand why they have set this up this way. Never mind, they're still skipping over Shelob. Are they trying to argue that goblins and orcs are the same creatures? Because they're not. Sam is abandoning Frodo. That is character assassination. Because Samwise would never. He's like, I'll never be able to get in there, so I'm just gonna f*** off, and I'm just gonna take the ring and destroy it myself. Bye, Frodo. Good luck with the orcs, goblins, whatever they're called now, because they're apparently the same thing in this iteration. Bye, Samwise, I guess. And now there's another musical number. This is also so hurtful because I love musicals, and this is just pissing me off. I actually cannot believe that they are doing this and making it so that Samwise is leaving Frodo to just be in the custody of these violent creatures that are definitely going to kill him, and he's just leaving to go and destroy the ring himself. What am I watching? This isn't Lord of the Rings. This is not The Return of the King. This is a travesty disaster. The whole point is that hobbits aren't easily corruptible, and Samwise, the strongest and kindest and most gentle and courageous and best hobbit that ever existed, is being swayed to claim the ring for himself after wearing it for, like, you know what, I'll be generous, 10 minutes in story time. The death of my soul is happening so quickly within this one, and it at least took like halfway through the 1978 one. It's been 14 minutes, and this is the that they have to do because they didn't do a good job setting up the story and telling the story correctly. Is they're having to do this asinine going into, like, Samwise thinking about, like, oh, what if I just took the ring and kept it for myself? I would be a hero. I'd be Samwise the Strong. Because they have to articulate in this story that the ring is gonna be able to corrupt even the best of people. That's not my Samwise. The problem, though, also, right now, is that they didn't articulate that this is a dream sequence or, like, a fantasy sequence. That is my assumption of this situation. And so, like, with how, like, jump cut it was, and if this is for a child, like, that's just such crazy storytelling and such crazy pacing and such, like, this is just a mess. And then we're probably gonna cut back in a second and Sam is gonna be like, no, never mind, I'm not gonna take the ring. But this just doesn't make any sense, and this is so messy. I don't have a problem with Samwise's voice actor, but if he keeps pronouncing Sauron as Sorin, I'm gonna crash out even harder than I'm already crashing out. I thought they were actually gonna go through with that for a second, where he was actually gonna put the ring on, and I was gonna be so mad. And I'm still quite displeased that they took Samwise and utilized him as the catalyst for displaying the ring's corruptible capacity. And this is just so overly dramatized, and not in, like, a cute, fun way, but just in, like, a bad high school play kind of way. Let's move on. I have one nice thing. I've said it already, but I'll say it again because it is actually a very beautiful background art. It's stunning. It pleases my eye. Good job. You did one good thing. Why are we doing a flashback to Samwise's childhood when we're supposed to be watching The Return of the King? Why? I actually don't understand, and I'm actually getting kind of angry. I'm actually getting kind of angry about it because this is stupid and it's incorrect, and, like, why are we wasting time? Like, the two, like, there's so much that happens in The Return of the King. So what this is doing is it has stripped everything. said that we're only going to focus on Frodo and Sam, and then something to do with Aragorn to the side, maybe. And so now they're wasting all of this time with the Return of the King story doing stupid things like flashbacks and like weird setups to like the prologue situation with like Bilbo's 129th birthday, which doesn't even make any sense. And now they're doing a little flashback sequence of like Samwise being a kid and being like, oh no, I couldn't even like utilize the ring at all anyways because I wouldn't be like good enough. Why are we wasting time on this? Why are we here right now? No, this is a flash forward to after Sam and Rosie get married, but we're not even there. We're not even there. Why are we jumping around like this? I just don't even want to watch this movie. I just don't even want to watch this movie because this is not good. Why have we jumped to the end when they're not even doing the beginning? What was the point of all of that? For Samwise to be like, sorry, Frodo, I'm not gonna actually come pick you up. I'm gonna go do it myself. Has this whole whatever montage, mental whatever, and then is like, never mind, actually Frodo's the only one who knows how to throw a ring into the fire, who knows how to destroy it, so I actually do have to go pick him up. Sorry, Frodo, I'm on my way. What was the point of wasting very, very precious time when you could be doing the story correctly, but you're gonna waste time making it stupid and incorrect? I like the art style. Oh, but you know what? Actually, Gandalf is still narrating, so we're not even really experiencing this in real time because all we've gotten so far are flashbacks, dream montages, prologue nonsense that doesn't even have to do with the Return of the King, but is like recapping The Hobbit, and we're 20 minutes in and we're not actually experiencing the story in real time, and Gandalf is narrating. So what is the point? Who is our POV character? Also, are we following Samwise? Great, I would love that. However, like, what is this? What are we doing? Because this whole thing was set up to be like, oh, like, we're following the story of Frodo the Nine-Fingered, and also, like, what happened to the Ring of Power, and, like, how it was found again, and then thrown into the, like, where you've set up for me 10 different things, and then didn't do any of them in 20 minutes of this film, and it's all over the fucking place. I'm not enjoying myself. So after all of that, now they're starting to exposit about Minas Tirith and Gondor now. So after all of that, we're still not experiencing the story as the Return of the King. We're experiencing exposition. How am I supposed to care and be connected when, one, I don't have my POV character to be experiencing this through? All I have is like weird nonsense and narration. Like they've already lost me as a viewer. Like, I don't care what's happening. And like, even if I didn't have this strong attachment to The Lord of the Rings and was, like, very attached to the story being told as it's supposed to be told in Tolkien's way, that this is, like, hacked up into a whole, like, just doesn't even make sense. Like, even if that wasn't the case, I believe that I would still feel like this is a bad first 21 minutes of a movie because it's just all over the place. It's not making any sense. We're 20 minutes in and I would already not finish this if I wasn't watching it for you guys. And the problem with that is that I got like halfway through what I thought was the worst Lord of the Rings adaptation. But this, I think, is worse. They turned the fell beasts into little Pegasuses. They turned the really cool dragon-looking fell beasts, or I guess wyverns, because they don't have 4 legs. They have 2 and then some wings. They turned the fell beasts into Pegasuses, And those are the ring wraiths. And we're jumping over the Battle of Pelennor Fields. I don't know why they even included Denethor at all when they're like, oh, he, like, just, if it's not important, don't put it in. Like, if you're not gonna, like, make it important or do anything with it, then don't even include it. Like, there's just no point, and it just feels worthless. You know, like, why are you even having him in here that he's, like, demanded his own execution? That he's, like, so messed up, like, that he has a mental sickness, rather than he's just, like, so overwhelmed with grief because his son's, well, one son died, he perceived another son to be dead also, and he feels the hopelessness of battle, and he's, like, gone to a very dark place, and, like, you know, but no, we're not going to put anything that actually matters in terms of the context. We're just going to say that he's, like, crazy and got some, like, mental health problems, so he ordered his own execution. Oh, and now we're also just going to have Pippin there. We're just going to have Pippin there? Like, I don't understand. Like, you can't... This story hasn't been set up to make sense about anything. Why is Pippin there when they're like, oh yeah, it was just Frodo and Sam on this adventure, like they were just talking about Frodo and Sam's adventure, and then Pippin's just so happens to be there? Like, I don't have any grace for this movie because they spent so much time The Hobbit when they could have been doing a proper recap of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and The Two Towers to prepare for the story of The Return of the King, where all of this stuff would make sense and be explained and clear. But they didn't. They prioritized doing a mini trailer so that you go back and that you watch the 1977 Hobbit rather than prioritizing this story and this movie storytelling. And that pisses me off. So then is this Gandalf's story then? Because Gandalf's doing the narrating and then talking about, like, if this is supposed to be a proper ensemble, they have completely f***ed the start to prep that and, like, make that into a thing that makes sense. Because even at the beginning, the only characters that they introduced, yes, Gandalf, Merry, Pippin, not even really, but they were there at the beginning, and Frodo and Sam, and then Bilbo and Elrond, and that's it. And Aragorn was, like, mentioned very, like, in the background, like, very quickly. Is this supposed to be Gandalf's story that he's narrating? Like, they said this was supposed to be about Frodo the Nine-Fingered and how he, like, destroyed the ring. Like, this is so messy, this is so bad, and this is so messy. It's like, you know, okay, actually, this is the issue. This is the whole problem with this whole thing so far, and I think I've got it. It's that they're starting halfway through every single thing that they're doing. They started halfway through Samwise's, like, dealing with going to get Frodo and, like, saving Frodo, and then they cut him and went over to this section without actually, like, setting anything up, and then now they're doing, like, halfway through the Battle of Pelennor Fields without explaining how we got to the Battle of Pelennor Fields and why that's happening and what's going on, and they're just, like, doing everything in the middle of the story, and that's the problem, is that there's not any actual information that's being shared, and they're cutting half of the action sequences. They're cutting half of the action to prioritize Gandalf narrating what you could just be showing us rather than telling us auditorily. Like, just show the like, tell the story via telling the story without telling the story, starting it halfway through the middle and then just narrating over top of what's happening, but not even narrating well about, like, anything that's going on. Why are we halfway through the story and we're only 20 minutes into it? Like, it's even worse because I expected so much better from this because The Hobbit wasn't so bad, and I anticipated that this was gonna be not so bad because this isn't Lord of the Rings. This is like watered down garbage. Okay, I do kind of like this component that they're having from the books is, like, the Watcher. It's, like, a big deterrent. Like, it's a big thing that, like, Samwise does have to overcome and, like, force his way through this, like, magical resistance. So that's kind of fun. They're adding a nice thing from the book that was missed in the live action movie, but, like, it doesn't make up for anything. But I appreciate that this is here. Okay. That's the one nice thing. Every adaptation, Sam and Frodo are gay. I like it. Queer-coded. Love it. And I don't want to hear a single thing about they're not queer-coded, they're just best friends. Read the room. The forehead kiss! Okay. Alright, I've been, my HP levels have been refueled by like 2-3 points. The forehead kiss. We love to see it. Sam and Frodo, I love them and their relationship, and they're just so cute. And yeah, they can be just friends, but I also just, they are queer-coded and it's so good and I just love them, so. Alright. My enjoyment was short-lived. I don't know why they're jumping ahead so far to the, like, the end, where it's like, Frodo's like, oh, we can't escape Middle-earth, and like, the quest is like done now because the ring's gone, and Sam's not just like, no, it's okay, don't worry about it, I got it here, Mr. Frodo, no stress. No, he lets Frodo just be like, oh, we can't even like escape, and only elves can leave Middle-earth because they can go to the Grey Haven and board the ship to leave. Why are you telling me this right now when this is gonna be the ending? The ending, although it's not, because now they did this whole flashback where Bilbo and Elrond's even still there, which Elrond is not supposed to still be there, so like it just doesn't make any sense why we're jumping to the end of the story when we're barely into the middle of the story, and they ruined it. I was having a second of a good time loving Sam and Frodo, and now it's done, and now I hate this again. They're actually like showing the actual end before they get to the end, where instead of like just do the linear storytelling, this is getting too complicated and so fucking messy. I know I don't usually swear in my videos because this is just like catastrophe and egregiously bad that I cannot contain. Why does the ring have the same stupid sound effect as fucking glowing sword? Why is it stupid? Why are they stupid? There's no answer. They're just stupid. This is where the there's a whip, there's a way is from. Okay, that's that's a little bit funny. That's a little bit fun, I guess. It's just so absurd and stupid, but I want to find things to enjoy. I can enjoy this song. But just this, there's been too many songs, it's been too much exposition, and it's not been done well, but this is... It's kind of like, I really liked the Goblin Town, down in Goblin Town in The Hobbit. This is absurd, and so... But... Yeah, okay. Where there's a whip, there's a way, guys. That's your motivational quote for the year. I like that these orcs are not just like mindless murder. Well, but they kind of are though, because they were literally killing each other. And that's how Sam got through the fortress. The first, like, you know, Kilithongol, he literally got through because they had all killed each other. But then these guys are like, we don't want to go to war. They can't be both. I think that's a really cool and fun commentary to give them more, like, not agency. Obviously, they don't have agency. They're being forced into battle, but they have opinions about it rather than just being, like, happy to go, mindless little, like, soldiers. So I like that, having an orc perspective of, like, we don't actually want to participate in this malarkey, these shenanigans. It's not a desirable thing to go do, but then you're still having them be like killing each other, so those don't go together. But like, this is kind of fun. So okay, where there's a whip, there's a way. That's also crazy implications too, that these are like people. Obviously orcs are people, or they should be considered as people, because they are just like another race. Think D&D, you know? They're people, and they're literally being like abused into war. That's kind of heavy, man. that's kind of crazy a little bit, and changes so much context around like their participation in this. And it's basically like Sauron is dictating abuse to have compliance, which is not a far stretch of the imagination to believe is being the case, but it's just a very interesting take. And it's an interesting choice to have them be war avoidant. And I think that's kind of a good different way to display orcs, but then don't have them like killing each other. And then perpetuating this like concept of this race just being violent, but then also have the intelligence and a wherewithal and desire to not engage in combat and not engage in like violence. There's not both at the same time. So pick one. I like this one, that they're like having a commentary on being forced into war, and then stick with it. The Witch King of Angmar sounds like a voice modulated rat. You know what I mean? Like, that's not scary or intimidating. Sounds like a loser. And he looks, I mean, I guess like, I don't know. I guess he looks fine. It's not the most offensive thing. Not even close to the most offensive thing, but like, he just sounds really dumb. Also, I haven't seen an Eowyn yet. If they just don't have her... So what they're gonna have to either do, and I don't have a lot of faith because this is the 80s, they're either going to have to just make women a part of the army, or what they're probably going to do is rush past it and be like, oh yeah, like just Eowyn, Theoden's niece, whatever, she like wanted to go to war and she like just did the thing. It would be really, really cool if they just made it that women could also be badass warriors and make it natural that she was there. And then I would accept that. I would accept that. I'd be like, yes, explained, she's just there because she's there. It's great. We love to see it. Empowerment. That's not what they're gonna do. Yeah, I feel like I'm anticipating great disappointment from one of the most epic scenes, and I'm gonna be quite displeased. More so than I already am. And that's a feat, I tell you what. Also, where the is Aragorn? Like, Aragorn has been nowhere this whole movie, and he's the Return of the King. Like, also, I don't understand what they're doing here with, like, oh, Frodo could, like, sense that there was, like, Nazgul close by, and, like, oh, like, he feels right now, like, oh, Sauron is getting weaker and, like, feeling fit, like, where's the magic system? I don't understand, like, they're not like, how can Frodo just, like, he just knows. He just knows these things. Why does he know these things? What's the connection? You can't say that, like, oh, it's because he's the ring bearer. Like, it's not explaining anything. Okay, I don't know where this is in relation to the story or the lack thereof the story. Is this supposed to be, like, after the Scouring of the Shire? Now they're, like, besties with orcs? Or is he, like, fantasizing about this? Because the problem here is that this movie has established that these are, like, cuts to the future where it, like, showed Sam and Rosie with their kids, like, after, you know, the events of the Return of the King, and then it also showed, like, Frodo and Elrond and Gandalf on the ship going from the Grey Havens off to, like, Valinor, and now they're, like, doing this musical thing where, like, Frodo and Sam are, like, hanging out in this green fields, and then there's just, like, some happy friendly orcs, like, but he also, like, showed, like, how he's having, like, real bad dreams because of all the trauma that he had to suffer when he was being tortured by the orcs. So I'm just really fucking confused about what's happening and why there's another musical montage when we don't have fucking time for this. Get to the story. You know what? Rather than showing his, like, oh, ideas of what this is gonna look like once we destroy the ring, why don't you just go and fucking do it? and stop showing these montages that have no bearing on anything and aren't even real and they don't have any impact on the story. Stop showing, oh, like, you know, whatever, and then they're gonna jump back where he's fallen into this hole and he's gonna have to go and destroy the ring anyway. So, like, why are we watching him going through all of this stuff, going and destroying the ring, when we're gonna have to watch him go through all this stuff, get out of the hole, and destroy the ring? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? Why are we indulging this nonsense rather than telling the story and utilizing the time that they could actually utilize the time that they had to tell the story to actually do so, rather than wasting everyone's time on this malarkey? I can't. Disgusting. I hate this version of Gollum so much. I think he just looks like a gross frog creature thing. His voice choice was really, really poor. He's just gross. Samwise just gave the best description for this Gollum. A pitiful and cringing abomination. Accuracy level 100. Theoden just died because he fell off of a horse in such a lame and lackluster capacity. They really are just like making a mockery of the splendor and grandiosity that is The Lord of the Rings. Okay, they did do the Fell Beast. Alex, I appreciate that. Okay, there's Eowyn. Love it. Alright. It looks... this feels promising. I feel good about it. We love Eowyn. The exposition ruined it. It's too much. Because it's so fucking epic when he's like, no man can kill me, and she's like, I am no man. And it's like, just perfect. This just ruined the moment. I love her. I appreciate her. I respect her. I think she's amazing. Even here, you know, love, respect, and appreciate that she's here. They didn't need to make it so complicated. Like, they're just doing too much. They really... Bottom line, they're just doing too much. And not the right too much. And not the correct muchness of what they're just not doing it. They're just not doing it. It's just incorrect. But I love her. Does she also have a magic sword? Like, are all of these magic swords that make the like lightsaber sound and like flash and glow? Like, we're in no man's land. We're in a lawless no man's land of fuckery and nonsense. How very fast and anticlimactic that was. And there he is. The king has returned at last. He's not that bad. Animated. He's definitely better than the 1978 catastrophe. But it feels so weird that he's been so absent the whole movie. It just feels weird. Anyways, there's 20 minutes left and the king has returned. No ghosts? They just fled? They just retreated? They're just done? Done? Okay, I guess we're done. Good, let's move it along. I'm ready to be done. I have no respect for this movie that it left out Legolas and Gimli, and I understand that the way that they told this story, the very incorrect and wrong way that they told the story, that there would be nowhere to insert Legolas and Gimli, but like, this is so disrespectful. The mouth of Sauron's also not very offensive, but he's just a dude. Like, there's nothing stylistically cool or special about him. Like, I don't know. But his horse is cool. I like the horse has horns. It looks like very, like, prepped for war, so I like the stylistic choice of that. But, like, this dude is just a dude. Yeah, like, look at the mouth of Sauron's horse. Like, that's super cool. I like it. And I don't like a lot, so I'm gonna appreciate the little things. I was gonna pop off, but you know what? This I will accept as a choice, because the whole thing about the ring is that it has a consciousness, it has its own, like, desire to be not destroyed, and, like, it has, like, you know, it can make choices, it has its own energy of awareness. So I'm gonna let this go and give the movie a lot more credit than I think that it deserves and say that, like, the reason why the ring is visible right now in this second, in this moment, is because it knows that Gollum wants to keep it alive. And, well, Frodo also doesn't... Oh, no. I've ruined my own argument already. Because Frodo also doesn't want it to die. Because he's corrupted now. Like, fully, apparently, for a couple of days. He's been corrupted. So it doesn't actually make any sense. And I was fighting out here, trying to come up with a reason why the ring is not invisible that makes sense. And my reasoning would have made sense, except for it doesn't. And there's no good reason why the ring is not invisible right now. And so, therefore, this is a stupid choice. That's wild that they kept Frodo's finger invisible. I'll also give it this, is that is, like, actually how it ends. So I think that's cool. Yeah, Gollum literally just does a happy dance into the lava. So, good job. He happy danced into the lava. That's book accurate. Moving along. This is an interesting take in having this conversation. He's, like, setting it up that he's gonna leave, but he's also talking in such a... I don't know, I guess it is, like, a hard concept to do without it sounding like succumbing to mortal demise, I guess. But it is interesting that he's, like, asking to leave with them, and having that conversation to, like, prep it. I feel like it's just not earned. This whole, like, the emotional component to this isn't earned because of how fucking janky the pacing and the choices of what to show. So, I mean, good job. Get out of Middle-earth. Leave, I guess. It just doesn't feel like an emotionally earned moment with, like, how bad the story they crafted was. But okay. That's such a interesting way to incorporate. So Tolkien, like, imagined Middle-earth as, like, real history in our world. So to have it be like, oh, like, hobbits are going to eventually be humans because of evolution and, like, continuing on, because, like, elves are leaving, wizards are leaving, orcs and goblins are gone, dwarves have disappeared into the mountains. So, like, are hobbits gonna also disappear? And Gandalf's like, no, you guys will still be here, but you're just getting taller and you're just not becoming magical, and so magic is basically being, like, erased from this world, but you'll still be here, but you'll just become human. Which is so sad, but it's such an interesting take and, like, an interesting transition into it being like, oh yeah, this is the real history of, like, our world that we live in right now. So don't hate that, because I think that is an interesting way to, like, play it. It's just, they already took away all of the magic and wonder of this world, and now they're saying that all the magic and wonder of this world is gonna eventually be erased in favor of, like, humanity. And again, it just, like, the whole wrap up here just feels really empty because the story didn't earn a happy ending with how that it was. So this is a very beautiful shot. But again, I think that this is so stupid because we already saw this, like, an hour ago when Frodo was like, oh, only elves can leave. Like, why would you spoil the ending? Like, if you're gonna do that, like, why would you show me the ending before the actual end and waste my time where you could be utilizing that time for better storytelling? Like, anyways, we're almost done. We're basically done. We'll just finish and get over with it. Well, that was a fucking disgrace. That was horrible and a travesty and just so bad. It was so unfaithful to Tolkien's story. This was such a mess. I don't think I really have anything good to say about it. It was just bad. Yeah, I don't really have any, like, redeemable things for it. Like, I liked Sam and Frodo's moments together. I liked Eowyn. Great. You know, the landscaping Like, art design, great. Everything, literally everything else was trash. This was a horribly watered down version of Tolkien's story, and I am very disappointed. And I did not enjoy this. Well, anyways, a comment about your opinions, because I know I was really harsh and critical of this movie, but I feel like if you're gonna do the last movie in a trilogy, you gotta do better than that. But yeah, that was my first time watching the Lord of the Rings Return of the King animated 1980 Rankin and Bass movie. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Everything with love, and we'll see you next time in the Treasure Trove. Bye!